This Hangout on air is live. Thank you for joining us for OreAni End of 2016 Spring Season Part 2. Ooh, Part 2. Crazy. So, with us today, Nick.
Yeah.
And myself. That's all. Small group. We're going to have some fun today. Maybe. We're going to talk to you guys all about the other stuff that didn't make it to the big tables yesterday. Ow. I hurt myself. Okay. I'm going to start with this title because it's kind of how I feel right now. But, you know, have you ever heard, or that, what's this show again? Tanaka? I'm already falling behind on this. Tanaka-kun wa itsumo kedaruge. And they kind of have a weird thing. It's like, what is it? Tanaka is listless or something like that. So I picked this show up and it follows Tanaka just going through high school, just being lazy, I guess you could say. He's always sleeping. He's always trying to do the least amount of effort for anything he does, except for when he's trying to sleep. I mean, he's even willing to practically sacrifice eating just so he can get some peace and quiet and just rest. And he has his friend Ota, which I thought was hilarious. This giant, tall dude that can't just leave him alone, and to the point where it's kind of sad because instead of encouraging his friend, hey, let's go, let's do this, he just actually just picks him up and carries him around to the next classes or to the classroom or anywhere, just either over the shoulder or mostly I think it's under his arm. He just carries him around and Tanaka just dangles there as they go around. And when I saw that, it made me laugh. And this show is just, it was surprising because I didn't notice it at the beginning of the season. It was until mid-season that I caught sight of this title and picked it up. And it was halfway decent. Now, there's nothing super big going on. No big action, no big problems. I guess the biggest problem is this energetic little girl that follows Tanaka around, trying to have, at first, have him teach her how to be just the same so she can be more mature. But Tanaka just goes through all these problems trying to be as, I guess, as lazy as he can. That's basically the best way you can say it. And you meet some new characters as you go through and become friends, the sisters, classmates, and there's even a problem, I think. Ota's sick and Tanaka has to do everything himself for that whole day, and people realize how bad it is that Ota isn't there to take care of him. But it's I don't know how to explain it. If you just don't have much going on, I think this is a good title just to put in, just to take in, just for a slow day. And some things that do happen, which I've heard about from some other. I know, like Sean likes when they change the scenes with the little animation of the characters walking by and the scene changes, like in Oreshura. You know how they did those scene changes every once in a while?
Vaguely.
Yeah, they did something similar to that where, like, when they're going to the next room, you'll see Ota carrying Tanaka in the chibi form, just walking across the screen, and it changes the scene. But I don't know. It just if you love laziness, you can probably learn a thing or two from Tanaka from watching this. Uh, right now I'm tired too, so yeah, it's a good thing to just relax with. So, what was the next title? Did you want to talk about real quick?
Uh, I don't know. Pull it up on the list. Like we didn't reorder crap, so.
Yeah, we're just going through things as we can. You actually wanted to talk about that one?
Yeah, there is a little info I can provide about it, like just to give some information and some things that I found kind of interesting and annoying, crap like that.
Junisai Chicha Namune no Tokimeki?
Hmm.
Something all about 12th graders, right?
Well, no, year olds. Like I think
Oh,
that's
sorry.
sixth grade.
Sorry, 12-year-olds, not 12th graders. What is this, right after or near the end of middle school, or is it beginning of middle school?
Yeah, like that's kind of vague to me because like isn't even like the Japanese like school structure like different to ours by like a year at least or something?
Yeah, they're different. All right, yes.
So I just wanted to start off by saying that I started watching this thing, and as I looked it up on media sites, I've come to find out that it actually had a precursing 8 episode OVA that aired from like April 2014 to like January 2015. And I did not watch those, so I don't know if this like season-esque anime is supposed to be like a reboot of that, or if the two would go together. I'm not 100% sure. I can't even. I think the producers changed on it since then, so it's not like it doesn't seem like it'd be continuing. But for whatever reason, it is greenlit for a second season, assumably by the same production studio. I didn't look into it that much. And, you know, I watched this thing because I do tend to watch, like one, what I deem like a shoujo anime or like just like a dating anime. Um, every season, they tend to be pretty, I don't know about interesting, but
To give you some new insights.
well, no, it's just like the drama in them is not that bad, and like I watch enough action shows, so it's kind of nice just to come up with one of those like first love story deals, like oh there's this dude that I like for the first time ever, things are awkward, and that totally happens in this. I gotta say one of the most annoying things were the constant iteration of the ages of the characters in like every episode, and then like at another point halfway through the episode each character would kind of like announce their age, and it's not like it became another year or anything. None of them started saying 13, so it just got really irksome to hear them say their age all the time. It's like who forgets the age of these characters? It's in the dang title of the show. Like, why do you need to push this so dang much? Did like the manga do this? Because I think this thing was based off a manga. Yeah, its source is a manga. So, but aside from that, it was pretty traditional in comparison to more of like the high school first love stories. A lot of the stuff I was surprised. While it does seem new, assumably to like a lot of 12-year-olds, it also carries through to the high schooler who's having like a boyfriend for the first time, and there was a lot of similarities in like animation structure there, and just I guess not plot development, but just how the story would move. It just seemed like I was watching another one of those high school shows at times, and then it would kind of like starkly bring you back to, oh yeah, I have to announce my age again, or we have to talk about something like elementary school specific or something, or whatever it's called over there. I don't know, but I was just like, holy cow, this thing has an OVA, and holy cow, it's coming out with a second season. Like I didn't know if it had that much success overseas. I didn't know if, like, with the younger demographic of characters, if that was a point of interest to people enough to make a second season, or like what establishes this show to be super interesting, considering a lot of those shows only ever get one season. So,
So I did watch at least I think the first two episodes, maybe. No, I don't think I did the third. Just the first two, and it seemed to deal with a lot with like coming of age things as well, like the period and
no, that only like
and
stayed in
stuff
like
like
the
that.
first episode or two. The rest of it, they didn't really try to focus on that as much
So
at all.
that's one thing that I was kind of wondering about, if it still went on and dealt with issues of them changing, because I think like even the biggest thing they said at the beginning was not quite an adult but
Mhm.
not quite a child. So I wonder if they focused on how they transitioned to becoming older, or is it just more based on the love story, or
It's
is it really?
totally a love story because, like, you would think that if 12-year-olds would start dating, you would have input from like parents and whatnot, regulation rules, the parents expressing some sort of worry about their daughter heading off for the first time on a date with someone at the age of 12. And I don't think there's a single like parent animated in this thing. You occasionally get a teacher, but there's like really no feedback of what the parents think of all this. So I don't really think it's really practical in a 12-year-old love story, because it's like it's not even really telling you how to talk to your folks about anything. So it's truly just like one of those shoujo dating stories, just like with a younger demographic, and it tries to be a little more lighthearted with those issues as you were talking about. But again, they really focused on that in like the first episode or two, and then they kind of went, okay, shoujo love story time for the rest of it for the most part.
So another thing is kind of how you mentioned it. Maybe I'm just old school, but really, no parents on a date when you're 12 years old? Aren't they usually the ones who escort or take you places?
Well, I know, but like I don't even think there was like a scene where they were like even like animated in the household having dinner with their folks. Like I couldn't tell you what any one of their parents really looked like, because I don't think they were ever shown. Like I don't even if I were to thumb through the cast of this thing right now, I don't think I would see their parents at all. So it's like I think sometimes you might have said my mom. Yeah, like sometimes it was my mom won us tickets to the pool and they wanted us to like go instead. And that's like the most input that I have from the parents, I think. I won these tickets at a raffle luck thing, and you can go have fun with your friends at the pool. So
So here's one thing I actually had a question about, because I noticed it in the first two episodes, like those boys that were just there to kind of stir up problems and stuff. They never had their eyes open, did they? Like
I guess not.
only the main characters you could actually see their eyes. Like everyone else that was a main character, you had nothing, or it's just pretty plain.
Yeah, one of the like essences of youth of this show is that one thing that it at least carried through all the way was like kind of like how I guess like groups of guys and girls like develop like kind of like cliques in school and whatnot. This particular class has like one of the worst cohesions of the female to male students. They are kind of clash against each other, and the teacher even comments on it a whole bunch, like, why is this class in particular worse than any other class I've had before or like of this year? So that was kind of always a thing where the girls always like were kind of against the guys, and vice versa. And that's like not something that you usually see too much in a lot of the high school based love stories. So like, that was like the one thing that it at least like came true on, despite the lack of like adult supervision almost everywhere.
So I know you explained it a little bit, but I didn't really get your impression. So was it good? Do you think it deserves a second season, or is it just something you watched?
It's definitely something I watched because, as I said, I don't think like one of those dating ones came out this season, so it kind of filled that slot of this is that shoujo dating animation that I'm going to watch. Um, it didn't particularly impress me, but it wasn't bad. But again, it really didn't really I don't believe it really tried to be like a guide on any of this stuff for, young individuals because it really seemed to me at times like I was watching like one of those this is my first boyfriend high school story deal things. So
I see. And would this be really good for young girls, or would you like? Would you, if you had a daughter, would you make her have her watch this?
I don't know if I'd make her watch it, but it didn't really do anything extreme, so it'd be something that I do believe a younger generation can at least watch. And, you know, with a bunch of 12-year-olds, the studios didn't try to focus on any sort of fan service, so there's a total lack of that. If that's like one of your I can't show this to my kids or young people because of fan service, that really did not happen in this series.
That'd be really weird if they put tons of fan service.
There have been animes about that before, however.
But I guess that is another thing, and kind of weird how they always mention their age, but they actually did look young. It wasn't like you always wondering
Yeah, and
how
that's
old
kind
these
of why I
characters
hated
are.
it because like every episode you at least hear it 3 times and it's like, "Oh, really? No one's had a birthday to become 13 yet? Damn." Like I'm waiting for that to happen, but all I know is I'm going to start hearing, "Oh, I'm 13 now." And it's like, "Yep, got it. Knew that
That's
5
the next.
episodes ago."
That's the next season. It's no longer 12 sides.
No, it doesn't actually change its name to 13 Psy, so it just seems like it's just going to be the second season of it. But are the characters going to be 13? Who knows?
Well, they'll at least tell you 4 times in each episode. All right. Thank you for that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which, what is this? Igiati, right? What was that other translated term for it? Detective, or no? Um,
Yeah, it's that Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney thing, as it's
oh,
called in
yeah, that's what
English.
Ace Attorney, that is.
But it's like, I think the title, the Yakuten Saiban thing, I think it's like turnaround something or another. Screw this. I'm just going to look it up.
So I remember one thing that you
Hmm.
mentioned, that during the subtitles that you had the stupid names being translated wrong, or they were just,
No,
or
they weren't
not wrong, but I guess
translated wrong, but they were true to the English localization, or what I believe of it. Because I never played the games, but I know they called the guy Phoenix Wright, and his name's totally not Phoenix in like the Japanese thing. His name's actually like Ryusei or something like that. Ryuichi Naruhodo is his name.
yeah. So actually, one thing when we were at what do you call that? ASEN. I
Hmm.
went to the Crunchyroll panel, and they actually talked about this title, saying that there's two sets of subtitles: one with the literal translation with their names, and one for the, of course, the translation with the names being, Phoenix or whatever it was.
Hmm.
So you get the bad ones if you did get stuck with those. You can go to Crunchyroll and change that. And I thought that was kind of interesting how they had both tracks. Now I haven't actually checked it up because I'm not watching this show, but
Hmm.
I thought it was interesting that they were willing to release two different types of it.
I gotcha. And there's not a whole lot of this thing that I wanted to say because I haven't played the games, because I haven't read what I know exists as a manga. Um, the only thing that I at least did want to come out and say about it is I actually did go to a bookstore at one point and I thumbed through the manga that was present on the bookshelf, and I noticed that like you have the Phoenix guy, right? And then you had his Mia like coworker person who was the little sister of his former boss. It turns out like there is actually like 4 sisters, including the deceased one, I'm guessing. But this series the animation only ever depicted 2. And I couldn't tell if they just tried to merge all of the 3 other sisters into this one sister character. Like, we can't do all these little sisters, so we're just going to merge them all into this one, and it's going to functionally play the role of all of them. Or like if they're going to be introduced in like another season that I don't even think this thing's been greenlit for or anything. So like I just didn't know if it eventually would have a season 2 and then we would see them introduced, or if they just said we don't want to do 4 sisters, so now it's just 2.
So was the show good at all, or?
One of my reasons for watching it was I kind of wanted to imagine how the game was played, and I was wondering if I could gain any insight through watching this, and the answer was kind of. It's not like a literal court progression. If you actually watch the the court cases, there's always this like one judge, and even in like the final few episodes of this show, you had an attorney who was like trying to do the judge's job for him. He said, "I presented my case. The defense has nothing they can object against. Now just declare the verdict and let's be on our way." And the judge is all kind of going, yeah, I guess you're right. So let's do that." And our main protagonist were like, "No, we've got to think of something. We've got to prolong this. Like there has to be a confliction in the evidence somewhere." And from what I understand, that was a big point of the game. You had to like point out contradictions. But I still I'm like, how would you do that playing a game? And the only thing that I could come up with is like, would it really be like it presented like 4 possible conflicts in like a text dialogue thing, and you just kind of had to pick one, and it would visual novelly progress from there? It just seemed kind of like crazy and unpractical. I'm like, I do kind of wonder how this game garnered like some of the popular. I'm not claiming it's a vastly popular game, but it did spawn a few titles over here, and I don't know if I've ever really seen like a lot of cosplay at anime cons for it, but I never like heard of it ragged on or anything. I think some people at least enjoyed it a little bit. And I do know the animation was viewed as rather poorly done. Um, so it didn't really get any high marks from the hardcore following of fans, and maybe that is due to the the mashing of character types into the one sister, and just other I really don't know what they all did in the anime because I haven't played or know any other material from this thing. I just kind of wanted to watch it because I'm like, oh, I know this is somewhat of a thing in the anime verse, and this is how I'm going to learn of it, I guess.
So my question, I guess, would be: so I know I only saw the first episode. I can't get past that,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed like he was a newcomer, right? Very
Yeah,
new.
like he was
So,
just out of school or something.
and that one lady was constantly telling him, "Oh, look at this, do that," giving him hints.
Mm-hmm.
So, did that continue on? Was he still pretty fresh in every single episode where he needed help, or by the end he's actually like, "I got this," and he's pulling up things, or?
Um, I think he was standing on his feet a little bit better, but I think the source material seems to be rather comedic, and I don't think the comedy was grafted well to the animation. Just thumbing through the manga, I was kind of like getting a lot of the expressions of the characters, and the comedy just seemed improved on. Like, I just don't think the animation handled it well. But yeah, like he wasn't really controlling like the courtroom cases, and he did kind of, there was a lot of like spontaneous help he received throughout almost every case. It wasn't like just from his own merit or anything. So
I see. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about this, or?
no.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one then. We got 100. Dun 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 dun. Big monsters. people fighting in strange suits, and all the girls seem to have breasts as large as their head. Well, except for the trap girl. So, 100 was actually, I was into it at the beginning, but then it kind of got harder to keep on watching this. And I'm actually lucky I finished this, or did I finish it? I can't remember anymore now. But um, oh, I can't even remember their names except for Emilia or Emily something. They called him or her different names depending on who he was playing, if he was being the guy or a girl. But there's these giant beasts that attack what do they call it? Little garden, right?
Yeah, little garden.
Little garden, and he got enrolled to be 100, and I guess the 100 is this little device that comes from the cores of these monsters that help them change to become these fighters, right? To help protect. And he was chosen, and he decided to do it because he had a high aptitude. And his main reason was for his little sister. And then, of course, if you people love the whole little brocon or syscon thing, you got that going there, which is kind of weird still. And so he decides to join for his little sister because she's sick, and she needs some medical treatment, and he is promised to get her help with by joining. So as things go on, um, and what really drew me into this was the battle, and he would change into whenever his life was in danger, he would gain some extra power, and he would also kind of lose it. And I was actually very interested in him learning how to control that power and use it more in fighting. But maybe he used it a little bit, but it wasn't in the way I thought it would be. And that's kind of why I lost interest, because it was more like, yeah, his eyes turned yellow. I really didn't notice him gaining any stronger or anything. And then I don't know, the costumes got really crazy in that show too, especially the females. Like they would wear a full, like swimsuit thing, and then when they changed, they have less on than what they had originally, or
No,
it's
I
all see
don't know.
through. That was kind of weird, I thought, in this show. But if you love fan service, you love big busted women or harems type situations, this is your show. Anything you want to add about Hunter? Or sorry, 100.
I mean, for the most part, I kind of agree. It was just the weird battling anime of like the season. Like what do we call it? The BBB or something like that.
Oh yeah, bus butts and battles or something like that.
Um, it it was all right, but not great. We get like a bunch of these every season. I think the last one that I kind of recall was that weird one where it was like the Strikers one or something like that, where they were called Strikers. I don't think the title had it in it. And they had to battle like the weird bugs floating through the sky, and if they like killed someone, all the normal civilian people would like forget about that person.
Oh,
But
that one.
well, yeah, it's just just another mediocre like kind of project thing that I mean, I just don't see this thing like getting a whole lot of hype just because like those shows never really typically do. But one of the things that was like hilarious in my opinion about this is did you listen to that opening thing song?
I can't say that I did listen to the opening.
I actually kind of had to go back and look at it because I wondered what they were saying because they have this like opera verse, and it always sounded to me like saying like they're like, we can do it. We've just got to like graduate or something like that. And then I looked up the lyrics and it totally was not saying that. It was like, disasters don't ever wait. The time has come. We can't delay. Like, fly through the hundreds of bullets. Paint the sky like paint the sky bloody red is I guess what they were saying. But every time I would always hear like, we can do it. We just got to graduate. And I was like, what the shit? So I'd always like laugh at the opening sequence because I'm like, that totally sounds like what they're saying is like, we can do this. Like, we got this. We just got to graduate.
But
So
yeah, but the main characters, your typical, what do they call them? Lucky skibba or lucky perverts, where just different situations like he'll trip and then all of a sudden he's groping the girl or kissing him or just awkward situations happen all around him that puts him in this uh, favorable situation.
yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know what it's called, but that might be it.
But yeah, this I don't know. This show's hard to recommend because I mean it's got action. Some of the action scenes are decent. Um, I don't know. It was just strange. But yeah, that's 100 in a nutshell. Watch it. I mean, don't watch it. If you want to pad your anime titles like Nick, watch it.
Hey, I don't pad them, all right? I seriously watch this stuff, even if it's not that good. But there's like no padding here.
But yeah. If you guys do watch it, let me know what you think because it might be interesting. What do we have next? Macross, what? Delta?
Delta.
Oh, I don't have the little icon for that.
What is wrong with you?
Well, I guess they don't have it in my list. Go ahead, talk about Macross Delta. I'll just put the
Okay.
12-year-old sign up there. Oh, wait,
Um.
here it is. I'm sorry.
So this show is effectively only like half over as of current. It's going to be a two core. But I did at least want to kind of come out to say I haven't been talking to a whole bunch of people about their opinions of this new iteration of Macross. I know lots of people have had kind of a nosediving interest in this ever since like Frontier and thereafter. But I was actually like watching the PV and listening to like some of the early synopses, and I was actually concerned myself with liking this series. But I watched it, and um, while I'm not necessarily like an idol anime fan, it I still love the battle animations of Macross. Like there's still, I don't know if there's any new level of polish in this one. You have, a lot of atmospheric combat. You have some space combat. Some stuff like blown out of proportion, like this little ship coming by, dropping missiles into like this open hatch on a much bigger ship, and it like decimates the bigger ship. It's like just some of the stuff, but like a lot of the established Macross tropes are here. You got the Etano circuses dodging clouds of missiles. You've and I don't know if Frontier started this, but like Frontier kind of did this thing where like this inexperienced guy ends up in the cockpit of one of these things and ends up becoming like an ace pilot, and we see that all over again in Macross Delta. And I don't remember that being a big part of a lot of like the Macrossy Robotech stuff. Like Like, was the pilot always inexperienced? I didn't think that was always the case, but I was like, is this now a new trope, or has this always been a part of Macross and I'm just like misremembering things?
Well, I don't know because I've only seen a few Macrosses that I can remember, like Macross Plus, where they were test pilots, so they're already pilots. Macross 7, he already knew how to pilot, he was trained
Yeah.
and stuff, so I can't really say them being new and then becoming an ace right away is a big thing. And I can't really remember Robotech, that's so long ago.
But yeah, so like I was thinking that that might be a more recent trend, and I don't know if they're going to use it like every time across all new iterations. I mean, I really don't know how longer like Macross will continue to span off titles. But I mean, I'm still not for like a lot of the idol songs in this one. I'm not saying they're particularly catchy, but as far as kind of like the plot development, I don't think they're as bad of an aspect as I originally anticipated. And I really do like a lot of the synergy in this series so far. So, no, I really can't wait to see how it's going to all end up. We're only halfway through it, but I did at least want to, like, as a break even point, this is one person who is enjoying it for all that it is, and I don't really know. I haven't looked around. I haven't asked like other people's impressions of it. So, but the CG battling is there. Um, I can't. I think that they're putting a little bit more polish into it than they have before. They're kind of focusing on. I know Frontier had a lot of like instant turn transformations. Like you transform the plane to do like a 0 degree turn and are going the other direction now. And this time we're kind of seeing, for whatever reason, I'm not sure if there's like a particular point for it, but as characters are like fighter piloting, battling in the sky, when things get close, they seem to half transform the planes just to like aim the guns that are mounted on their backs at the other guy. And I'm just kind of like going like, okay, why do you have the legs deployed right now? Like are they stabilizing you? Because I would almost imagine it would cause like inverse stabilization. Like you'd be better off as this aerodynamic thing, and like this cannon on your back seems like it would be able to aim no matter what mode the plane like would be in, as long as it had like stiff rigid back thing. So there are some things that I am questioning why they are animating the way they are, but I mean I'm still liking the combat. It's still visually impressive in my opinion. So, but I am trying to like critique them on like why is this going on here? Like, is there a purpose to this, or are you just doing it because you think it looks cooler? I don't know.
So would you recommend this to watch or?
I mean, absolutely. If you are a mech fan at all, if you've watched the Macross stuff, if you haven't, if you've only ever watched like Gundam stuff, I would say at least give it a shot. If it's not your cup of tea, fine, move on. But I've always loved, the half robot, the full robot, the transforming plane aspect of Macross, and that always draws me right back in. So
Hmm. I think one of their gimmicks is the slow transformation as it's flying and it starts transforming and they do all the angles as it starts changing. I always thought that was kind of cool how it did the changes as
hmm.
well.
But as like a halfway point to the review, if someone at least wanted a general synopsis of what's going on, because like sometimes we do that, um, we kind of have come to find out that in this, we're still exploring the universe in this thing. The universe is a very vast place, and we've come across many planets with a lot of different beings inhabiting it. And you have this like big intermingling culture. You have like these mer people looking aliens, you have green people looking aliens, you have like elf ear looking people aliens, just all intermingled. And we really shouldn't be calling them aliens, but there is this one race known as like the Wind Myrians who have these like runes in their hair. It's just like a birth thing. It's kind of like a mood ring kind of a thing, but like the runes kind of light up in response to emotions. And them as a species, they're kind of trained to try to repress that because I guess it's not super beneficial for the every onlooker knowing exactly what you're feeling at the moment. So they're really kind of trained to repress their tells, so to speak. And that's what one of the main characters is. She's a Windmerian, but she kind of had to sneak away from home because we come to find out that the Windmerians believe that this big galactic expanse has done them some sort of disservice. They agreed to this deal that sounded good at the time, but was later revealed that they kind of really got the short end of the stick, and they're really mad. So they hatch this plan to use what they call protoculture. Macross have always focused on shouting day culture everywhere, and this series seems to focus on what they're calling protoculture, or like this already established past civilization that has had some sort of cultural advancement that we are now like literally using the ruins of because they're dead and gone and no one knows what they were or what the extent of their culture was, but they're using all this proto-culture technology to to push this thing known as the VAR syndrome, which kind of just they are behind the VAR syndrome, it seems. I don't think it's like a supernaturally occurring thing, but using the power of one of the Windmerian song, they're able to basically make people go enragedly berserk, um, but still almost follow somewhat of a hive mind structure. Like they do have these general orders sometimes, but until like those are established, they pretty much just go on a rampage, grab whatever tools they have at their expense, and just start hurting anything nearby. And that kind of was one of the things that our idol unit had to fight. Their song was supposed to counteract the enemy song and pull people away from this VAR syndrome, restore them to their senses. And the Windmerians are using this protoculture to really advance this cultural attack. And it's something I've only ever seen like really in a lot of video game stuff. Like you advance your culture so much that cities just want to join you, or you have like the one hypnotic unit that can go in and just like grab other units under its control. And that's what this series seems to focus on, because every time we have to come up with like a new thing in Frontier, we were fighting this hive mind bug like alien. And in Macross Delta, it's this one race that exists out in outer space, is basically trying to take control of the sector because of like a 40-year-old bad deal or something. I don't know. But that's like where we are at the halfway point now. So
I may have to check out episode 1 then. See how this. People tell me the second or summer is not going to be that great, so maybe I'll pick up some other stuff, but we'll see. Next up, by the way, have you heard of Sakamoto?
I have heard of that because I've watched it to the last episode, so it is something I've heard of.
Sakamoto Desuga.
Deska.
Desu.
You don't need to do the ooh with the if Sue is at the end of whatever it is.
I'm trying to be kawaii, okay? Excuse me, sorry.
Kawaii tank kawaii.
Sakamoto-san. Yeah, that show is pretty interesting. It's another show I picked up mid-season that I wasn't expecting. And this show's so strange. I mean, it's obviously all about Sakamoto and but he's one of these characters that's just seems to be perfect at everything. I mean, he's smart, he's athletic, he's he's seen as this great person, but he has so many strange quirks that I find it just very jarring. But the show basically is almost like set off into sections per episode, maybe
Hmm.
2 sections per episode,
Yep.
and during these moments, it's someone or something happens that deals with Sakamoto, like they don't like him or they want to do something to him or just something so strange. And then by the end of it, typically they understand why he's so great or they come to enjoy him, want to be friends and stuff. I'm not saying this is every episode, but that's
Well,
typically the trend.
well, like Sakamoto, as they introduce him, he's like this cool, suave guy, and the premise of almost every episode, as we see like some level of antagonization against him, or just some event that happens near him, and this suave character uses like his suaveness to kind of like solve everything and make everything right again in his like suave way, and that's where like the humor's supposed to come from, I think.
Yeah, but it was just so strange watching each episode. I mean, it was funny. It was
Hmm.
great. But it's just at some moments I was just like, what? What the hell is he doing? And this show actually brought something back that I haven't seen in anime in a long time, which was the Kukuri-san, the Ouija board almost type thing. I thought that was kind of fun. It brought some memories of some old animes that I've seen. But there's just so much stuff going on around Sakamoto, and he just turns everything and just defies what you think might happen. Did you ever try to guess what was going to happen, and then it turned out the way it did, or was it pretty much like you had no idea what was going to go on? And
Yeah, like I really had no clue because like Sakamoto is this like weird thing where you have like the ability to ride wind with umbrellas and just do various feats of like impractical stuff. but
yeah,
but
like
hmm?
running in a marathon using the evolution theory.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but I actually almost gave this thing up from the get go just because like in the first episode I kind of actually had to like click around the timestamp because you had like three non-central characters like volleying a ball like for 3 to 6 minutes straight, and and that just like had like an essence of like this really low quality seeming show in my opinion. And I did give it at least a second episode, which I found out that totally was not going to be the case. Like that volleyball volley thing was not going to be played in every episode. So, but I did kind of have like an enjoyment trying to see like some of the scenarios that they crafted, and in particular, I enjoyed it like when characters try to stand in it and express like antagonization to his ways. Like we will fight this guy, and then like how he just kind of does stuff, and like the whole point of Sakamoto though is not even just to to solve a problem. It's like you've got to solve a problem and improve everyone else's perspectives along the way. So you had like a lot of characters who were kind of bettering themselves from his influence, so to speak. That wasn't the expressive like point of the show, and it doesn't happen in every altercation, but yeah, just seeing Sakamoto Kun do his thing was kind of like the whole point of the show, and for that reason, it actually fared pretty well. A lot of people um, talked about it rather highly, and it was kind of one of the higher points of the season, despite maybe not a whole lot of people actually picking it up.
So yeah, I will admit though, with what you mentioned with the first episode on how it was, it's like when I first saw that first episode, I too was like, "What?" But then as I continue on, it did get a whole lot better, especially after that first episode. But uh, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, he changes some of the characters into really weird ways. Like not even like I don't even know what's with his friend and his hair fetish. That kind of freaked me out. I'm like, how did he even become that way?
I don't like think it was supposed to be a fetish, but like the character that weirded me out the most was like that blonde dude who started like wearing only his boxers throughout like the rest of the school year.
Oh, him trying to be a bee or me to be or something like that.
Well, like he was trying to become a comedian basically, but like he wasn't always being that funny, was like the worst part. But yeah, that guy always like weirded me out.
What about the mother? Did she weird you out at all?
Not really. She's not as much as some of the other characters, but
Yeah, check out Sakamoto. I mean, what do you got to lose? It is pretty much you can pick up any episode and just start watching. I mean, there might be some relationship with some characters that you might not understand because of just picking up anything, but the stories itself are pretty interesting and fun just by themselves per episode. Would you say that's pretty good, Nick, or would you have to watch it episode by episode?
I mean, I always recommend watching them in that order because, in my opinion, when you start like jumping around, there's some facts that are revealed about some characters that you always won't pick up on in the later episodes. And me personally, I just never saw like the point of, oh, I'm just gonna randomly like check out episode 6 and then 4 and then I don't know 7. Like, I know the last 2 episodes were, or no, maybe it wasn't. There was a kind of like a cliffhanger ending on the second to last episode, which then the last episode really covered. But aside from that, I mean, I guess you could to skip around just about anywhere and not be lost. But then how you would keep track of what like episodes you have watched and whatnot, I have no clue. So
Well, check out Sakamoto. You won't be that upset, I guess. There are worse shows this season.
yeah, like just don't put all your stakes in episode 1, I would say, because there's a ton of skits all over the place, and some of them are really good, and some of them probably should have been something else. But the first episode in particular, just like with that, in my particular opinion, just that irking volleyball volleying thing took up way too much time and just gave it a rather sense of low polish, despite how I heard some people talking about it later. I knew it was one of the better shows of the season afterwards. Just don't put all your stakes in that first episode.
All right, so you're about ready for the sorry, excuse me, the next title.
Sure.
Now, this one you wanted to talk about, and it's actually been out for a while, right?
Yeah, and that's actually why, because now it's actually over, is what I really want to say.
I don't have the title card for that because it's. We'll go back to the 12-year-old again.
Jesus Christ.
Well, you don't know how old they are. They don't tell us every three times an episode, but we got
Just like how you like to go right back to that one.
Yeah. Ansatsu Kyoshitsu Assassination Classroom, right?
Yeah, and I think the second season had like a subtitle, but
Yeah, yeah. And that Assassination Classroom. Yay! I found the icon now, but I'm too lazy to put it up. Oh, whoa, it's switching on its own. So what did you want to say about it? Now that it's
that
all over.
it did have like the two seasons that were each two cores. So I mean, this is like a four core, two seasoned anime. Um, a lot of people have been picking up it in its first season about this time. For some reason, a lot of people I know, like locally to me, were like, "Oh, I watched the first season; it was pretty good." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm about to finish the second season." So I did just want to say all the events are over. It is a close story. So like if there is some sort of a third season spinoff, it's like of the characters years later, which wouldn't be so bad, but I just doubt it happening. Um, the show ranked rather well. With the odd yellow tentacle teacher that was the super creature that vested his vast abilities to teaching this inferior class. Um, it it was a rather interesting show. I kind of liked how the teacher attempted to give the students lessons. I did kind of like the mix of action it introduced with everyone basically having to assassinate the creature under the supposed belief that he was going to blow the earth. And I can kind of spoil why that was right now, so we could spoiler this out in like the YouTube thing and spoiler here, the teacher did not blow up the moon. Yes, did you know that, Tank?
I did not.
Right, because the last you knew, he blew up the moon, right?
I kind of forgot he blew up anything, or there was an assumption. I just remember he was there in the classroom teaching, and they introduced quite a few people.
So yeah, the premise of the second season was continuing on for a while. That why do we have to kill this teacher? We kind of, I think near the second core of it, we started having that conflict of like, why must we kill this teacher? And it's revealed that what actually blew up on the moon was a mouse that went through the same experiment as our teacher here. And the mouse's body was not able to contain the energy, so it basically blew up like some kind of a warhead and decimated the moon, where that was kind of a lab where the experiment was taking place. So the teacher, I guess at that point, has realizing or knowing that he's undergone the same treatment and that he is much bigger than a mouse and would carry much more of a payload, is basically encouraging these students to kill him while he's trying to teach them to bring them up, because he fears that one day when he blows up, it will take out the earth. And it's not that he hated the earth or anything. He just figured his body would hit like critical mass and go the same way that the mouse on the moon did. It's revealed later in the series that uh, a human undergoing the experiment has like only a 1% chance to undergo such an energy discontainment to like go critical mass and explode. So with that like 1% chance of death and ending the world, everyone thought that, oh, we could just let this teacher live on and we're not going to kill him. And we had a little dissonance in the class. The student who still said, well, we are assassins at this point, we were brought up on this, what else are we going to do if we just want to play all nice now? So we kind of had to see some perspectives of the characters and how they achieved a cohesion in the class again. And by the end of it, I don't think I'll go ahead and spoil that much yet. Like, I just kind of wanted to like do the biggest reveal, and maybe that would entice someone to watch the series if they at least heard this much of a spoiler. But I guess you would. I don't know. What should I talk
So,
about instead then?
So my question would be, did they introduce a lot more characters, or was it just all the same ones?
No, we had no additional introductions that I can think of. I think everyone who was introduced in the first season stayed. I think we had a couple character recurrences, like there was a school festival at one point, so we had a lot of characters who they helped in the first season, or they had, or at least were introduced in some way. They kind of showed up to their school festival and to like help their class out in a sense. So we had like a lot of like, oh, this person was from this arc and they're here now. So we had like returning characters in those senses, but I don't think there was a single new character. I don't think. There might have been one additional assassin introduced in the second season who didn't have. I can't remember if his arc was in the first or second season, but student-wise, it's all the same.
I'm gonna have to finish the first season and then watch this again. Check it out. The last thing I remember is they were going to this one place to get like some kind of antidote or something.
Yeah.
And they're in the, just doing their stuff.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next title.
So far, it's ranked a little bit better than Sakamoto, though, by the way.
What? Well, actually, I can understand that show's pretty popular. And it's been out for a while.
Yeah, it has been out for a while, and it does have this like weird essence of popularity. There are times that I really enjoyed what it was doing, and then there was like times it descended into like some form of mediocrity, in my opinion. But I think it had its own special blend of it had a vast amount of characters, and while a lot of them weren't fleshed out necessarily the best, they didn't really focus as much on the background of every single character. So you just kind of like had to see their perspectives as they applied their skills to do crazy zany stuff later. So like some of when they actually attempted to assassinate the teacher, like as a cohesive class, like everyone performing their role, not just like a one-off plan somebody came up with and everyone had to like help them on their one-off plan. That was some of the highlights of the show, in my opinion.
Weren't they also promised a lot of money if they killed him?
Yeah, and you'd have to see the end of the season to know exactly how that all played out. Because I could tell you right now, but I think it'd be kind of interesting to watch it too.
Don't worry, I'll watch it all the way up to the last episode of this.
Oh yes, I know you.
Let's go ahead and do the next title then. Sousei no Onyoji, or what did was it Twin Exorcist is what they call it on?
Like Twin Star.
Or Twin
Sosei,
Star.
I believe a star. Yeah.
Exorcist or something like that. Who knows? Here on the crunchy side of things.
The crunchy side of things.
So this show is. Oh, why did I choose to talk about this? I'm actually about ready to drop it. It seems to be continuing on, and I actually picked it up after hearing about it from one of the panels at the convention, and I was like, might as well give it a shot. And then spent all
You
night.
saw that white Fox mask thing and totally hoped the thing was going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't even wear it much anymore. That made me sad. So, but yeah, I don't know. They're too focused on, they got to get married, they got to have children, yay. And the cool battle scenes, or somewhat battle scenes, are gone now. I mean, they do stuff every once in a while, but it's all like training. There's no really impending danger to them anymore.
I don't know. Have you seen like the last 2 episodes?
Well, I guess not. I mean, the last thing I saw was they're getting some special training from that one.
Yeah, I remember.
The umbrella, that was weird.
That weird stuff, yeah.
Yeah, mainly just, having them try to become understanding. But I don't know what to expect from the show because I don't I don't think they're too good together. He I like the childhood friend better, and they're still introducing a lot of things, a lot of reveals that are going on. So maybe I hope it gets better, but
Yeah,
um,
I don't know. I don't have a solid impression of it yet myself. I do know it's, not original. It is based off of manga, and as usual, I don't really read manga anymore. But I gotta say, I kind of agree. Like, to me, it has some inherent pacing issues. Like, it kind of dwindles a little too long in the establishment of like everyone's perspectives of what they are, what they should be, and like how everyone kind of goads them into being what they should be or whatever. But in the last few episodes, there's kind of being like an increasing sense of like the enemies are getting like exponentially tougher fast, and it's kind of weird when you expect the rank and fodder exorcist to be fighting them when people with like specialty skills are having even like some trouble. um and and their whole thing right now is these characters just have the most potential. They're, to me, it almost seemed like they were introduced as like the strongest, and then it's like, no, they just have the most potential, perhaps, maybe, if they're like trained right and everything goes right.
yeah, that irked me too. Like they were like, "Oh, look how strong they are. These two are supposed to be the strongest section." But then there's all these characters they're introducing are just doing way better than them. I'm
Yeah,
like,
like you still have like the core strongest, like 13, like I forget what they were called, but they're like the 13 exorcists who are like the strongest, and like their strength is no joke. But the enemies that they are starting to fight are becoming a lot tougher, so I think there is potential in the show from there. But I'd kind of have to see how it handles it to be sure. So
I want some more despair in this show. I want that kid to suffer more. And this show turn out good. But eh, it's the only other thing that bugs me is I don't know if maybe it's because of the manga's influence, but whenever they do a simple attack, they have to write it out all in big letters all across the screen, like as it's their final attack.
they're just like shout your attack. That's like
Yeah,
the gimmick that it's playing off of.
yeah, and maybe if it was their main or the big final thing, but I mean, it's like every little thing. Like, I'm throwing a hammer at you, hammer throwing technique, and then it'll place it all on the screen. And then they throw the hammer. Okay. I mean, at one point, I think they even did it for something minor. And I was like, oh, come on, please. Why you gotta do that? I mean, maybe if it's a new attack, do it, or if it's something new, but for every single time they do it, that was just kind of starting to bug me about the show. But I am getting messages from one of my friends. Actually, you know him, Carlos.
Uh-huh.
He's all like, he liked it. He liked Twin Exorcist. I actually didn't think he was watching this.
Huh.
But I don't know. Just I'll probably give it a whole nother 3 episodes into this new season, and if it doesn't turn itself around, then I think I might drop it. Or the second core, I should say.
Yeah, I actually don't know. It's, being done by studio that Period, or however you pronounce it. So, I mean, they can make lengthier shows, but this thing's length is not currently confirmed. So I don't know how many cores it's going to run. I don't know if it's going to go on to a season rest at some point. I absolutely have no clue at this time. Perhaps it's going to be like that Trigger show that like ran for like what? How many years did that thing run? Like almost like 2, was it, or something? I have no clue.
World Trigger,
Yeah.
the Evangelion title ripoff.
Yeah, it used that font, but like that thing kind of like snuck up, and it had like this crazy episode count that I didn't think it'd be like hitting when I first started watching it, but its first core had like 73 episodes. So
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I never expected it to get that high. Maybe 2 cores at most, but then it just kept on going and
oh
going.
yeah, I got it right now just because I wanted to talk about it. It started in October 5th of 2014 and ended in April 3rd of 2016. So it did at least run over 1 year.
Dang. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next title. Uh, what is this? Uchu Patrol Luluko?
Where did you get that title from? It's like not the one I'm used to seeing. Maybe, or maybe it is the official one. I don't know.
I don't know. I just have a folder with them.
I figured. Yes, Trigger's other short work from this season. Well, they're only short from this season, but the other thing that they had running from this season, Space Patrol Luduko,
I
and
saw the first episode.
and for shame, man, for shame, because Luluko, while it does establish itself in its first couple episodes, it actually then later goes and explores all of Trigger's other properties. So, the cast of Space Patrol Luluko literally goes to the Little Witch Academia. They they bring in the actual Inferno Cop. They did a whole Kill a Kill episode. So like Trigger just had a whole lot of fun with this one in its later runtime and literally explored all of the other stuff that they've done, short or not. So that was kind of interesting to at least see like this not universe expanding, but this title expanding short anime do its thing and end with Trigger's usual increasingly dramatic, like this increasingly like world. Their whole snowball like really took off in this one. Like the scale of the fight that was going on in the last episode was just kind of funny. So that was like a pleasant surprise that I didn't know that they were going to do. Watching the stuff early, dedicate at least one episode to doing a lot of their prior projects, and I didn't really watch Inferno Cop all the way through. I think I watched like the first thing it ever did, but I didn't watch it till runtime. And in the middle of it, in the middle of exploring all these other arcs, there's this one thing that I did not watch that I was kind of taken aback by. It was like this, I guess, this platypusy looking protagonist guy, and like it was in this like yellow monochrome colored world, and I don't remember them doing that short. Like it probably wasn't like a mainstream animation thing. It was something like Inferno Cop, I'm guessing, but like that was like the weirdest episode of Ruruko to stomach, in my opinion. Just because I didn't really know what the characters were and what was going on, and that episode in particular was a whole bunch kind of zany. So
I don't know. I recently got onto that. What do you call that thing? Twitter.
mm-hmm.
And I've been following this one person that posts a lot of the art for Trigger,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing a lot of the Space Patrol Luco, and I even think I saw that part where you said Little Witch Academia where they flew by next to each other, and they had a little scene like that. But I never got the chance to watch it. I know it's super short, and I barely got one episode watched, but I don't know. I think I have to be in the mood for this, for the craziness, or else I don't know how to explain it. Because it seemed really fast paced.
It's pretty fast paced for what it is, but in my opinion, that was kind of a good thing.
Yeah, and I think if I didn't have the time to just sit there and get ready for that, I would lose something or wouldn't be able to enjoy it as much. But I mean, now that I'm waiting for the next season to open up, maybe I can start diving into a lot of these things. I did really want to watch that, and there was a few other shorts that I wanted to just quickly run through. But did you also mention that it was really weird how they said it was different seasons for only a few episodes?
Yeah, like something that I never gathered exactly why. Like I don't know if this was just like a pre-production thing and they've been just working on it in their off time, but like when this thing was over, like its last episode hit, and give me one moment, I'm gonna prattle on here for a little bit while I do just one quick fact check. But like each episode was considered like part of a season, and I think like it was like 3 episodes made a season or something like that. So that by the end of it, what was that final? What was the final count on the season? Uh, Episode 13. But yeah, like they just that kind of confused me, and I didn't know like if that was just a gimmicky thing or exactly what it was trying to achieve. But I think it was like roughly 3 episodes made like a season. So
Interesting. Well, they're shorts, so check it out. Right?
yeah, like it is pretty zany to the max when, especially later, like it starts up a lot more mild than it will eventually become. But like I was kind of getting a little bit of like the sense of the Gurren Lagann from like the story at the very end of it. You just had this big bulking like black hole nemesis who was just being a super nemesis, and they were pulling all of their zany gimmicks out like for that final scene. There was action aplenty. There was like not as bad like as scaled as Gurren Lagann was, because like they were like multi-universe sized mechs who were like slugging around universes as attacks, but it did have that semblance. Like I could see like almost like this Gurren Lagann element in that combat that they were doing at the end of it, and it was an interesting project through and through. So
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next title. Usakame. Well, what is this, Usakame?
Usakame is another short, and
Oh,
it's a spin-off of Take You. So these
oh,
these characters appeared in Take You for like an actual tennis match when they were kind of focused on tennis. And I was like, oh my goodness! Like I was never a huge fan of Take You because that was the short series where everyone was like a motor mouth. It was they condensed as much of the anime as possible into just being like some kind of a spoken gag, and these characters were talking so fast it was crazy. And that is not what Usakame was. So I was kind of drawn into it saying, oh, what are you going to do with the spin-off cast of characters? Um, and while they don't really talk as fast as Take You, they still focus on tennis about as much as Take You does. so so this short animation that's supposed to be about like these 4 members of this tennis club still rarely ever play tennis. But
see, shows like this remind me a lot of actually, what do you call it? Excel Saga, with how she just talks so fast and just so much nonsense, even. But this one I actually enjoyed when I was watching it. Take You
so
kind of made me go, "What? This is kind of. I'm not watching it." This one I watched a few of it. And I was like, "Yeah, this is awesome. I like this." And then I just haven't picked it back up to continue finishing it. But
yeah, and I don't really know exactly where they get the name from, the Usakame, the rabbit turtle thing, which they also reference in the opening sequence. You see like the rabbit and like this turtle, but I don't know if that was supposed to be an emblem of the club or what was going on with that, but yeah, like its comedy wasn't as off the wall as Take You was. It still tried to be a little off the wall, but Take You was like really off the wall. And this thing, although it was all right, it still wasn't anything promising. Like I just wanted to mention that these guys did a spin-off of yet another tennis thing about an alternative set of tennis members that they played a match against. And the Take You characters do come into this anime and play a match somewhere. I forget what episode it was, but it was kind of like, oh yeah, since these characters came to Take You, now the Take You characters come in here. And I think like the voice actors are like a core cast, so I think like people are multicasting characters at that point. But it's a short, it's not something super serious, so it's like mediocre to the max. And I just wanted to say like that weird somehow has like 7 seasons of Take You, which they are short, so I don't know like if 7 seasons would equate to like one normal season at this point runtime wise, or like one normal core of 20-minute-ish episodes. But I was just kind of like, what is this one going to be about? And
So is this the third spinoff, or?
I think it's the only spinoff. I don't think there is another spinoff. I think this is the only thing. Well, Take You had a second spinoff of another cast of characters, but like it was still to the same pacing of Take You. Like it was called like I forgot what it was called.
Yeah,
But
I don't remember what it was called either. But I just remember there was another one that was supposed to be supposedly a spinoff.
yeah, like I think it actually bore the Take You name though for some reason. Like I forgot what it was, but it followed like one of the other characters who were like the rich girl character. It followed like her being like a rich girl, but I don't know.
Huh.
But like it was much the same as Take You as far as like the amount of dialogue crammed into the short runtime.
All right.
But yeah, it was like the Takamiya Nasuno Des Take You spinoff. That I think that was the title of it.
All right, let's go to the next title.
Sure.
Sen...
But the ending, well, hang on. The ending sequence for Usakame was kind of catchy. That was probably my highlight of watching it, was just like, at least the school song comes on the end.
Okay.
Just wanted to say that.
Dun, 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 dun. We got Seisen Kerobius Yu Koku no Fatalite. So Kerobius. I thought the first episode was cool, and then you have that guy that at first I thought it was a girl, then turned out to be a guy.
Wait, what?
The main character. I thought he was a girl when I first saw him because of his eyelashes and everything.
Oh, really?
It wasn't until he started speaking and everything I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah, so this was another show I just wanted to talk about because I kind of like talking about these for some reason. The animation was pretty mediocre to the max again. It probably will not be well received by a whole lot of people, but if you watch this show, you kind of get the impression of, I think I played games like this before, or I could just see this thing being made as a game, and that's because its source material is a game. So we have another animation that was made after some kind of RPGS game that I don't know if it tried to mirror the main story of the game. I don't know if you could, play the game to get the story or watch the animation to get the story, or if they actually did a different story based in its universe. Because I haven't played it, I don't even know if it really had an English variant for me to play. But But sometimes I have fun just watching animes, even if they're not the greatest, and just kind of imagining like all the game sequences, like because they're pretty obvious sometimes. If you've played a lot of RPGs before, you could see a lot of the gimmicks employed by this show just as that, like, oh, this is a total game sequence. I could tell, and I really had that feeling from it. It was still a pretty subpar show. Like it didn't do anything particularly great, but sometimes I like just getting the feeling of imagining gameplay from like animes based off games, and that's my enjoyment from this series. Again, it's just like imagining playing through a section or like how much of an RPG trope something was. I'm just
So
trying to guess at like what elements were in the original game based off what I've seen in the anime. Like, does it have like a crafting system? Does it, what features can I like reverse imagine from watching this anime that were implemented in this RPGS game? And that's really all I have to say.
was the show any good though? I mean,
And no, like it's not doing well rating wise. I wouldn't like recommend to go watch it. It was like, amazing. I'd say if you were to find any enjoyment from it, it'd be, you'd have to have a similar mindset to myself probably. You just want to watch it acknowledging that this is an anime based off a game, so you're going to get a lot of those types of tropes, and you can kind of figure out the elements of how something was arranged or whatever. But if you just wanted to watch it like as a standalone anime without any kind of care for that it was based off a game or not, it's not that great at all. It's pretty average. Like you'd probably like the BBB series of the season better than this one by just probably a smidgen, not by too terribly much, but
so I saw to the part where that blue-haired girl appeared with
mm-hmm.
the whatever the sand dragon, whatever that was. Did it
Yeah.
get any better after that, or was it still the same?
Roughly, it was still about the same. With characters introduced, there was more action, and there was some, there's a big climax sequence where Mr. McBad is like activating his scheme, which in games is usually always pretty a big deal. Like it's never just like I'm going to take over the kingdom and that's all I'm going to do. It's no, I've done something and I'm going to like try to take control of the world, and and you being like a cast of RPG characters just have to be like, well, we probably have the power to stop this guy, so boss fight now. And it totally led up to one of those sequences, but like all the animation that it took to get there just wasn't particularly great. It probably improved after the halfway point because like some things happen to some characters and they've got like some skills or abilities set up that they're a little bit better with. So you don't have as much of a stumbling as you did in the first half. But still, I don't think you're going to find like a whole lot of enjoyment from this animation just as an animation alone. I know I've already iterated it, but I just want to really push this point that I really get a lot of satisfaction watching shows like this when I'm imagining playing the game based off what I'm seeing from the anime. So.
Okay. Let's go ahead and I guess go to the next title, or anything else about the show?
Not necessarily. Like, I don't even think it had an impressive like opening or ending sequence. I've been forgetting to talk about like my impressive opening and ending sequences.
You know what? Actually, there was one that I didn't even finish the series, but the opening and ending actually made me listen to it a lot. Was
What's that?
the Gundam series?
I actually didn't give that one a shot this time around. Like, I don't even know if I ever checked out the first episode.
Yeah, I don't know. Just when I played it, I was like, hey, I think I like this. Okay, let's go to we're just going to the next title, right? dun, 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 dun. ネットゲの嫁は女の子じゃないと思った。
Sounds about right.
What was the translation of this?
Oh, it had like the worst English like localization ever. Give me a moment because I do want to pull that up because a
Pretty.
friend of mine was watching the dub. That's happening. It's only a little bit behind the subtitle version, but they do officially are actively working on the dub and they are airing what they have worked on. I forget how far behind it is, but the Japanese shorthand for it is, I guess, Netoyome is what it's being called, but the English title is going to be called "And You Thought There Is Never a Girl Online."
Really?
Yep,
Yeah. I think it's
because
done worse.
because my friend told me this title. She's like, "I'm watching this show. It's called like, and you never thought there was like a girl gamer or something like that." And like I had to put two and two together. I'm like, well, I am watching this one. No way, is it that title? And then I looked into it later, and it totally was. Yep, this thing's being called "And You Thought There Is Never a Girl Online?" Question mark. English title for you right there.
Crazy. Well, Neto, what was it? You said Neto Yome
Yeah, I think is the short name for it.
or Neto Geyome?
According to this, it's just Netoyome.
Neto Yome, then we'll go with. Yay! So, uh, short story or long story short, I should say. Ako, this girl that loves playing video games or a specific game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Legends or whatever they called that thing was. Um, meets Nishimura or Rushian, as they call him in the
Mm-hmm.
game, and she decides that she wants to marry him in the game. And Rushian, who has some past trauma about marriage in the game, like he proposed to some girl and confessed that it was a guy, so he was shocked. He couldn't believe it. So when
There is a
Akko,
reveal on that, but we will probably not discuss that today.
yeah, so then Akko, after a year later, confesses to Rushian and wants to be married. And by that point, he's like, I don't care if you're a guy or girl. This is just in the game. We're getting married. And then to the surprise, when they have an offline meet for their guild, since they're all in the same guild, or him and two others, they find out they're all classmates and they're all surprised on noticing who they all are. Since then, Akko has delusions that the game world is the real world and things here aren't real or don't matter. So the show starts off with you wanting to rehabilitate Akko to get her out of these delusions to come to real life. We're not in the game. The game is a game. This is this. To the point where Luciana even's like, dude, you're not you're not my wife in real life. Just back off, type of deal. And I'm actually surprised he's that way. And the way he acts all cold to her, I think was hilarious at points too, as he tries to point this out. But they end up establishing a club to try to get her off of the gaming world, and it's just, I guess, almost every day of trying to change Akko to have her come to school, have her come to the realization of what's going on. Plus, you also have the slide romance with Rushian kind of getting closer to Akko and the friends pushing that or trying to help out. But of course, it kind of gets funny as it goes on, as you start noticing all the others start kind of falling away from real life. and getting pulled into Akko's pace every once in a while.
Yeah, and to me that was kind of like some crazy zaniness too, because I almost kind of like want there to be like one spin-off where like you have Akko who is like convinced that stuff that happens in the game is like correlatable to like real life. Like if you get married in the game, you're married in real life. That's kind of her perspective. Even if like the paperwork does not exist for that in real life, that's just how it is. And you know, she has a funny conversation about that with people in a spa trip, but we could talk about that later. I always kind of wanted to see what she would have done if she like married an online game character and then like did that like off-world meet, and it was like, you know, a younger girl or some older guy, or like, you know, just like if it was not Rushian, if the relationship between the two did not make sense, would she still push the marriage as much?
Hmm.
Like oh my god, I got married to like a 12-year-old girl. What the heck? But you know, that's just my little rant on it. That's obviously not how the story was set up. So yeah, it's pretty much them trying to convince Akko that what the events that have transpired in the game thus far don't have any correlation to reality. And she, you know, she's really kind of not getting it. Um, and to much so that when in real life Rushian starts having feelings for Akko, he asks her out and she turns him down with the explanation that we're already married. Why would we go down? Like dating is like a step down. And you actually kind of see that Akko is a character who's initially like a hikikomori, right? She really doesn't get to class as much. That's why they never really see her as often, because she does have that like social anxiety, which we have seen from another anime of this season. And they kind of used the game to establish the relationship with her and try to improve her. But the character that is Akko is kind of an odd one, because she's so convinced that she's already married to Rushian that she's kind of given up on anything but being his housewife. You know, like, I don't have to go to school because I'm just going to be his housewife. You know, I don't have to give the job because I'm just going to be this dude's housewife. Even to the point which I thought was kind of concerning. Do you remember at one point we actually seen like her mom when
Yeah.
Rushian goes over, and the mom's all like, "Oh yeah, you know, take care of my daughter from now on." It's like the mother was totally okay with just not my problem anymore. I was like, "Whoa, really?" That was just that was kind of like a push in the wrong direction, but anyway. Um, but yeah, you do see them trying to improve her as a character, to not be that shut in, to not not just being so confident that she's going to end up being married to Rushian. And it was kind of funny because I will reference this now. They had that conversation of like, why do you think that because you're married in the game that, you know, like why is that wall non-existent? And then she counters the question back at them. They're like saying, well, if the game was truly different, say you are a couple in real life, and they're like, yeah, and you know, you start playing this game. What if you ask your actual other person that you are either married to or are dating that, hey, do you want to get married in this game? And the person responds, well, no, because you know, we're dating in real life. We should marry other people in the game because they're separate. And the two characters are like, oh my god, I think I'm kind of understanding her point. We got to stop this. We are becoming her. I thought that was kind of funny because it's like,
That was pretty great. Yeah, they're all like, "Uh oh, Akka broke us," or she countered us really well. But after a while, though, they do step out of the game because at the beginning it's more or less centered around the game, and they were in the game quite a bit. But
mm-hmm.
as things go on, they do actually end up not being in the game so much and just more or less pulling her out from it, and it's pretty interesting. But then it's kind of also funny how they realize how important Rushian really is to her rehabilitation, because at one point I think it's just all the girls for a whole night, and they realize how hard it is to keep her under control
Yeah.
or keep her delusions in check. And
Like, crap, we need him for advice. What the crap?
yeah, and it was great. And but Akko is one of these characters that kind of scares me as well, because she actually gets really close to that type of yandere character,
Hmm.
and I'm actually happy they didn't go that route. And even in the future, as other stuff happens, she kind of stays away from it. But it's pretty good humor, especially if you know some big gamers that are really just into MMORPGs, I guess you could just call them,
Hmm.
and just sit there for hours playing and take things a little too literally or too seriously in these games. But it's just pretty fun. Um, and Urushian, I don't know how to explain it or how he pulls it off. Like, I mean, he always has these really funny deadpan remarks to her for all these different things that happens. Like, even at one point, um, she comes over and she's like, we're no longer husband and wife and everything, and she, she freaks out and everything because of an incident that happens, and he's just totally cool with it. She knocks on the door, he opens the door, closes it right on her face. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry." But
Yeah, and that whole thing, that whole sequence, I wish they really expanded upon a little more than just like the one and done instance it was. Um, I'm going to try to keep it as censored as I can because I know what you're getting at. But at one point, Rushian gets like account jacked, and he's not able to access his account. Someone else has stolen it from him, and to me, that was like the best point, the best way for Akko to actually kind of accept that reality and the games are different, because she acknowledged right away that Rushian, the character, seemed different, and started making the accusation that it was not Rushian. And I really wish that they used that instance to really pull her out of like that mixed delusion. Like, see, someone else had my account. That's why the game and this are separate, because like like what if Rushian like ends up like, although they don't like in all sorts of like end user agreements, they always say you can't like sell your account for money or give it away to someone else. It's like, what happens then? Like, what if he did give his account to a friend of his, just gave him the credentials and let him play from it from then on? He was done with the game. Um, like what happens to Akko? Would the marriage transfer? Would she still be with the centralized Rushian character who exists in real life? Like, I kind of wish they explored that a lot more than they did.
I will admit that as the show started, it does get fan service as you
Yeah.
get near the end. I mean, at the beginning, I didn't really think it was too much, or it was at least normal, and then near the end, it got really big. But not that I'm complaining, but just for
I
people,
would I would say halfway through,
yeah, just for people
especially
who are
especially
turned
when he
off
went
by
to her
fan service.
house. But yeah, I mean, it tries to have the eye candy to entice a certain following of viewers.
Mhm. And they do have a cool turning moment when they start playing an FPS. You should at least check that out. That was awesome. But that's it for that one, unless you have anything else to add.
No.
Well, that's our list for at least what we really wanted to talk about. There's some things that we didn't talk about this season or at the end of the season, like
Yeah, I kind of wish we had a bigger group for them. Is the only reason I didn't add them.
Yeah, so like I know a lot of people were into what is it? What letters start? Re zero, right?
Yeah, Ray Zero was a big one we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
I don't think it was necessarily big, but we wouldn't have had like one individual who used to do the OreAni like years and years ago, who's been talking about Bakuan. Um, so we didn't talk about Bakuan, but oh well. There
Oh,
was also the Hero Academy, which was kind of a big deal. It's like I've always kind of called it like the Demi One Punch Man. It,
yeah,
it it has garnered some interest amongst a large following of people. So
yeah. This one is definitely a shonen title that is super popular, and I don't know how to explain it. You could tell by the first few episodes it was going to be one of those big title shows for the younger generation, and I'm I want to watch it, but I've read the manga, some of it, so my need to watch it isn't so high
hmm.
because I already know some of what's going to happen. I might pick it up now because it's probably past the part where I was at. But the other title you said was Bakuan, right?
Well, Baikuan wasn't necessarily big, but it was something else that was kind of interesting. I Let me check something really quick. I know Hero Academy and maybe Ray Zero score pretty high, but how did that one do?
That one had a lot of really interesting eye catches and stuff.
It actually did less than that of. It actually scored not as high as I originally thought.
Yeah, only complaint about Re Zero I have is that I was watching it on Crunchyroll, and during some of the episodes where they ran past the credits, Crunchyroll cut it off at the end. I was like, "What? Wait, what?" Like even at the last episode when they were going to reveal who the fourth, whatever person, spoiler, who that was, it cut off right when it showed her shoes. I'm like, "Wait, who is that?" Damn you, Crunchyroll! They need to fix that. Then you also have what was it, Big Order? That was
I don't
I,
know if I don't
I
know
was
how
I
popular
thought
that one
I
was.
thought that was going to be a little more popular, but it's not really talked about a lot. So I was surprised that it didn't do as big as its name. The other title we missed was some pretty fun shorts. Ogami a High Spec. I thought that was kind of fun. I especially liked the ending credits because it had a lot of the keyframes and it was pretty raw in that form. And it was just fun to see all those how they did that. You also had
Kuro
Fun
Mukuro is one I don't think we talked about that I was kind of surprised knowing we didn't have enough people to really do.
Pun de Peace, another short about bread. And what was it? You said Kuro Mokuro, right? Uh, how did you watch all that?
I did, and I don't think it's over. Like I think it's going to be a two core runner, so it's not even over right now. So it's not so bad. We didn't end up talking about it, but
How is it? I mean, is it good or is it?
I'm enjoying its concept so far. Uh, Let me just back this up with some sort of ranking reassurance. But oh, it's actually not as high as I thought it was. Once again, the combat is choreographed pretty well when we are in like samurai robot fighting mode. I think it had a lot of good humor when we kind of have a character who was like from 400 years ago brought to the present. This ancient samurai character, and I think some of the comedy that they did with like having him look at like the culture shock of reality and how like much like there's actually technology now, not just swords and stuff. Um, there was some good scenes there that I liked showing off to people, and the funny thing about this all is I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I actually drew a lot of comparisons between this and like the first Transformers movie, like too many. I kind of did it as a joke at first, and then I was like, holy crap. So essentially, alien technology from, many years ago, there was like some sort of, huh?
Weren't they called the Oni?
Well, he calls them Neoni, but it's actually more of like a futuristic spacefaring samurai mech weird race thing. I don't know. They're quite not super well explained even yet. However, it's like something happened back then, and that caused all that to get buried. So like we had mech battles 400 years ago that nobody like remembers. It wasn't written down in writings. No one knows it happened until people were digging a tunnel and they came across this giant robot and cube artifact. So what do they do when they come across a cube and a giant robot? Well, they built a dam to make a secret facility nearby to research them to advance technology to the point it got to modern day. And I was like, holy crap, this is like Transformers, the first movie. Like, really? We built a dam. We built a lot of technology from this thing that we were studying. I was like, holy crap. So I'm interested in seeing where it goes. It's our samurai's not as culture shocked anymore. I don't know if it's going to go on a season break or not. Let me see if that's confirmed yet or not. Nope, it's going to run 2 cours, so we're not even going to have a split break yet. So it's going to keep on running until the end of next season.
Yay!
But I mean, I personally had quite a bit of enjoyment from it, and there's nothing really rubbing me the wrong way with it yet. But I don't know what everyone else's views are. So,
Well, maybe we'll get more opinions next end of the season thing if people continue watching it to the end. But that's about it for today. We're about to hit our mark. Thank you guys for joining us, and hopefully you enjoyed what we talked about. We 2 weeks or so, maybe 3. I'll put a post out for the group and see what days we want to start. But we'll do the summer lineup, and I think there's already a few episode 1s out there, at least for 6 titles, right? Or 7 or so. So you can start getting ready for the new season. Yay! And continue watching some of the old stuff. You have any remarks or?
Nope.
So just remember, we are the Anime Talk community. Pretty simple, just Anime Talk. Join us on Google Plus if you want to just chat about your favorite titles and what's going on, what your opinions. It's a pretty decent community. We just don't post pictures for fun. We actually talk.
Yeah, we're just not into like the anime culture as much as like just any other group you'd come across. Although we don't really talk a whole heck of a lot. When there is a decent conversation about something pointed up, it's pretty good. Just it's pretty focused in that respect. But I don't know. I think the activity is not as active as a lot of just somebody wanting a place to post their stuff or be exposed to stuff is. But
also, if you feel like you want to join us in the future, especially for the summer coming up, we do post the event information on Anime Talk, and just let me know. You don't need a camera, just a working microphone and a decent computer to run Google Hangouts.
Or a toaster. Toaster could run Google Hangouts pretty well.
Really? Please join us next time. That's it. Really. uh, Hopefully, what's his Triply, our Nutella man can join us. Still waiting for you to come back, man. Haven't heard from you in a while. It's all message Triply saying, please come back. We need him. And Tyler, what have you been up to? Hurry up and join us. Other than that, bye bye.